5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka. Phenomena. Tiptoe through the tulips with me.
You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to...
Talk Supernatural. This one's explosive.
Amplify our voice, because knowledge is a choice. You can turn away, but first listen to what we have to say, because with knowledge comes power, and you'll gain both in this hour.
You're listening to Talk Supernatural Radio, where we truthcast live from the U.S. to the U.K., up north, down under, Rhode Island to Easter Island, Greasy Corner, Arkansas to Monkey's Eyebrow, Kentucky. And if you're listening, you're right where you're supposed to be.
What's up, Supernatural Seekers? We are Scott and Heidi Linden, here once again to open the eyes of the blind. We are broadcasting.
Oh, you're talking
unnerving,
like... I'm just going to say you're Australian. I like it.
Unnerving reality, news, facts, experiences, stories, and even words for you to live right by.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Well, okay, so I guess let's get to it. It's Mystery March, and tonight we are going to frost your palette with some mysterious faces, places, and cases.
Yeah, but first things first. We have yet another shout-out to give. And his name is Mike, or should I say his alias is General Sid. And his show is the Mike Joltz Show. Jolitz, thank you, on Spreaker. He's been a fan and a listener of TSR since we've been on, which has been decades.
Or a year.
You know, it's all right to embellish a little.
Oh, yeah, embellish a little. Decades a year.
During our live broadcast, he often says to us, what's up, on our Spreaker chat. So we just want to, kind of repay the whole favor and say, what's up, Mike?
Hey.
And thanks for listening.
Isn't that a cute song? Thank you for being a friend, Mike.
Thank you for being our friend.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, thank you for being our friend.
You sound like the Candyman guy. What's his name?
Sammy.
Sammy.
Ooh, come at the sunshine.
Yeah, that's what you sounded like, though. It's like you're for being a
Sprinkle it
friend.
with dew. Take a candy
Scott,
covering a miracle or two.
That was
the
not
Candyman can.
a green light for you to
sing.
sing.
The Candyman can. The Candyman can, cause he mixes it with love to make the world taste good.
Are you done with your solo?
Yeah, baby.
Are you done? That was not a green light for you to sing.
I know, but you got me started.
You got you started.
Start me up.
All right, so it's another TSR Friday. So we're going to give some TSR, TGI Friday news of the week. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Headlines.
All right, so first, a terrible fatal oversight happened in Xi'an, China. A woman was found dead inside an elevator after a month of being trapped. The elevator was taken out of service because it had a broken lift, and the elevator maintenance men returned to work after a month of the long break of the Chinese New Year. What job gives you off a whole month?
I know, but I need that job.
Yeah, Chinese New Year gets off a whole month. When they opened the doors, when they came back, they found the body of a woman who had been trapped inside since late January. She starved to death. So they decided to stop these elevators and didn't even bother checking. The workers said that they confirmed that no one was inside. But
obviously not.
All they did was shout to check whether anyone was inside or not. Hey, anyone in there? Hello? She was
older lady, or
They didn't say her age when I read the article, so they just said that she had lived alone and she was still in elevators. So, and how well do you hear in those elevators, anyways? You know.
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering if she was maybe older, maybe her
Didn't
voice
hear.
wasn't real strong,
Or she
or
was
maybe
get-
they gave one lousy shout out. Hey, is anybody out there?
Or she was schizophrenic and thought they were just the voices in her head and ignored them.
Friday, we really want to go. Did you check, Bert? Did you check to make sure the elevator was empty? Yeah, I checked. I checked last week. Did you check today? No, I don't got time to check today. I got places to be here.
Because we all know how many Italian guys are in China.
Yeah. Are you busting my chops here? Did you truck the elevator? I trucked the elevator.
Well, that's...
You forgot Ma.
Of course, I don't even know, but it's going to scream lawsuit. There's got to be some family or something that's going to try and sue.
Rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's horrible.
I mean...
that just... Every time now I've been in an elevator since then, and I've been in a few since I read this article. I'm nervous.
Well, I
knock on the door. I'm here.
All these elevator operators around the world now are getting these special little memos.
Yeah.
Be sure.
Make sure.
I mean, I can't imagine that.
There was an episode of Twilight Zone about that or something.
You know, not to make, I know often I take some pretty crazy things and I make jokes out of them, but this was just miserable. I mean, this lady just suffered.
I know. Could you imagine, not just the starvation, how scary is
Yeah.
that? I mean, I'm freaked out being in an elevator by myself with a stranger. Like, it's like, oh, God, I can't wait to get to floor 2. It's like you're nervous. But being in there by yourself for a month, it's like, sooner or later, they're going to find me. Sooner or later. And I'm thinking, they must have turned off everything because then you would have pressed the alarm or something. So they must have turned off everything.
Just shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
Put it in between floors. Or
Chinese New
below
Year,
so
everything
no one
off.
could use it and just shut down all power so no one could get in there.
God. All right.
Wow.
All right. So a 3-year-old boy in Egypt was sentenced to die. Yeah. In 2014, there was a huge clerical error in the Egyptian law system that made this toddler, Ahmad Mansour Carney, his supposed crimes were 3 murders and sabotaging public property at 3 years old. It was him and 115 anti-regime protesters that were charged after a protest in 2014. He was 16 months old when the protest took place. He must have been a really sassy kid. Shortly after the alleged crimes, the police came looking for the toddler, but ended up taking the father to prison for 4 months instead of his son. So I don't know if they thought that it was the son.
What, they just couldn't leave empty-handed? So we got to take somebody back with us.
Or they thought the dad was lying who he was. I don't
Since
really
this one
know.
here still craps his pants, we'll take the dad. What?
But the ruling is still that this kid has to die. What? So Egypt's assistant minister of the interior, whatever that means, he admitted that there was an error in the case.
Really?
Yeah, but only because the dad went on TV and social media for help.
What?
Yeah, so this guy, this interior guy, whatever, said that the government was looking for either a 51-year-old male or a 16-year-old male with a similar name as the toddler. That's where the error came in.
Name has nothing to do with anything.
I know, you see it.
If he's 3 years old, I mean, come on.
If you can prove he was 18 months old time of the protest.
I mean, all the guy do is look at him and say, okay, we obviously have a mistake here. Okay, well, and nothing more said, but like, somebody must pay for this punishment. Give me somebody.
Anybody.
Anybody. I must kill somebody.
Well, after the dad
Who wants to lose their head today?
That's basically what was going on.
Man.
Because after the dad was released, he started going on TV, trying to get the decision noticed and reversed, and that created a social media wave, and it put pressure on Egypt.
Good.
So the government finally admitted that the sentence was the result of a clerical error
Really?
and promised that it would be fixed. But what about the guy that spent 4 months in jail? You know?
Yeah, he probably didn't do anything either.
No, it was the dad. So, gosh.
Imagine dad's like, okay, wait a minute, before you kill my son, I'll go. Just here, take me, and I'll go sit in jail for a while until you figure this out.
Really dumb.
Boneheads.
They're all boneheads.
Whoever this Egypt's these things,
Assistant Minister of the Interior.
you're a
Whatever that-
bonehead. That's coming from SWL.
Yeah, you tell him. All right, so a 51-year-old woman in South Africa is found guilty of kidnapping a newborn 18 years ago, and she played her off as hers. In 1997, this woman snatched a 3-day-old baby from her sleeping mother's hospital bed. She registered the child as her own daughter in 2003, so years later she finally registered this baby, changing her birth date so there would be no trace to, The woman now is denying the charges, saying that she adopted the girl. But here's what's interesting about this story. How was she found out? This girl was reunited with her biological parents after their second daughter befriended her at school. They realized how much they looked alike, so they became friends. The parents meet this
talk
girl.
about karma.
They knew that their baby had been
man.
kidnapped, and
What
they're
are
like,
the chances?
Yeah, that's God.
Yeah,
God,
right.
fix
But
that.
you do imagine that the lady who took her was keeping eyes on where the parents might be. Just
You
in
would
case.
think, yeah.
Or she probably
same
thought
school?
so much time went by that was kind of like
18 years,
whatever,
or well,
right?
it was 16, I think, when it happened, or something.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Isn't that crazy? So the investigation DNA proved she was the kidnapped baby, and now this woman will be sentenced on May 30th. But she's only facing possible 10 years sentence after kidnapping a woman's baby after all that time. But it's sort of neat that she found her family and she's
the
her,
things
got
that
her sis.
the first family had to go through.
Oh, I can't even
Can
imagine.
you imagine that? Wanting a child, having the child, and the child's been taken.
Yeah,
And then how do you deal with that?
right.
And how much money and how much time and how much law enforcement was spent and how many
Oh,
nights do you
yeah.
lay awake and try to figure it all out, and then nothing. And
After
then
18
one
years,
day,
you just give up. Yeah.
hey, here's my little friend
friend.
Cindy Lou here, and oh gee,
It's like looking in a mirror.
yeah, wow,
Isn't
got
that
the same
weird?
crooked teeth as I do, same blue eyes. Oh.
Well, it was Africa, so I doubt it was any blue eyes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
I was.
No, that's okay, because there's a lot of Italian people in China, too.
You know it.
I know.
Where did you see the Africa thing? Oh,
It's
yeah,
in
there
there,
it is.
yeah.
There it is. Okay, yeah.
Africa.
Reading is fun.
You just listen. It's okay.
Yeah.
So this is a little tidbit. So Emma James is mowing her lawn, and suddenly what started out as a little dip in the lawn, which was already bothering her and her husband, it's sunk into this huge hole. She goes down to the hole, looks down, and there's these steps leading down this dark hole. And they're still there. She won't go down.
I wouldn't go down.
Well, the house was built in 1984, so it's not like this is like this super
right.
old
This is something
house.
they built over the top of
Yeah.
it and didn't
so
fill
I'm
it
like,
in right.
well, now, so that's the story, and so they're actually asking people, someone, you want to come check it out for us because they won't do it. Would you go if you
I
were
would.
mowing the lawn
Oh, would I?
Yeah.
Just mowing the lawn?
and you see this
By
hole-
myself in
Yeah.
that situation without no real reason to do it? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I imagine they get some high-powered flashlights. I mean, did it just keep going and going and going? Or,
I don't know.
I mean, even no matter when it was built, I mean, how big? Where is
House,
this at?
I don't know. It's
I don't know. IDK. Nice
I
research.
forgot.
I don't even know where it's at.
Oh, really? Well, you thought
Well,
African
maybe-
people have blue eyes, so there.
It could.
I guess they
happens.
could. I think there might even be,
But like, let's say if it was like in Europe and someplace where perhaps at one time there was an older area. You might say, oh,
Yeah.
is that an old castle or an old dungeon or something like that? But here in the United States, you might say, well, you know, depending on where, maybe on the East Coast, but the rest of the country would be like, well, everything, there would really be not too much like that.
I should check into that.
So
'cause
that
I
could be
forgot.
really, really important.
I know, but I'm
Or it
just
could
thinking.
be some mafia over there in Japan.
You never know. But I'm just thinking, if I'm mowing the lawn, which I wouldn't do, but if I was, and I see this hole, I would freak. I was like, is that like the hole to hell? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, where's that going? But you never know what you'd find down there either. Some really cool stuff. What if there's
Right?
like,
Well, if there's like little gold bars.
yep.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa's buried there. You never know. All right.
Or that lady from the elevator.
Oh, God. Oh, they found her. Oh.
Yeah, they just went ahead and covered the hole. I can't believe it.
Well, in the movie Poltergeist, that's what happened. They didn't
Yeah.
They only removed the headstones, not the graves. Yeah, look what happened to them. Mm-hmm. All right, so in borderline paranormal news, in Mexico, this is terrible. A satanic cult killed a man in a bizarre ceremony to turn him into a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you know that's possible, right?
I do it all the time.
Yeah. Iveth Lopez, who was 18, Gustavo Dorentes, who was 18, and Omar Sanchez, 25.
Grandma Sanchez.
They beat, strangled, and slashed the neck of this guy with a broken bottle. His name was Edwin Juarez Palma. He was 24. He died in the toilet area of a cyber cafe called Freak Shop. Okay. It was during an initiation ceremony led by a satanic sect called the Sons of... And I know how to pronounce this word, and when I see it written, it throws me off. But it's like Baphomet. You know, it's the devil.
Oh.
But I cannot pronounce it by looking at it. I cannot. I'm just terrible at it.
Bapho. M-E-T.
I know how to pronounce the word. I can't look at it because I'm messing up.
Baphomet.
I'm just crazy. All right. So anyways, they supposedly were attempting to make Edwin a vampire. Police say that he was tricked into this ritual, though. Okay, so I'm just wondering, how do you trick someone into a ritual? He was tortured, hands tied behind his back.
Put the candle back.
After one of the killers persuaded the others that Edwin should be sacrificed so he could return to his life as a vampire. His body was found abandoned in the street, wrapped inside 2 plastic bags. One co-worker of this guy said that his interest in vampires was just a hobby and nothing more. And if they get really, then why is he involved in a place called a freak shop?
How do you have a hobby with vampires? I mean, what do? Collect, teeth that fell out of vampires? You collect wooden stakes that came out of
little
vampires?
vials of blood.
I mean, how do you have a hobby? Like I collect, like vampire, stuff.
Like capes.
Capes.
Bats, dead
this
bats.
This is the original cape right here. The first vampire.
This is my first edition of Drac.
1222.
That's
what?
terrible. Yeah, so see what darkness leads to darkness.
Yeah.
Always. Yep.
Yes.
I know. All right, so that's it for regular news, if you want to call that regular.
That's the end of news.
But tonight we're going to talk about some mysterious places, cases, and faces.
Cases, too many faces.
Because
more
it
than a color.
is Mystery March, so.
Well, debating what's supernatural and what is natural.
I always felt that spiritual aspects or supernatural elements are a part of the natural, and we just don't recognize it.
I guess we could say what is physical or what's spiritual.
Yeah, that would probably be better then.
Or?
No, not or. That's just...
Or?
So the first place we're going to talk about is, we're going to talk about Suicide Forest.
Ooh.
It's called the Sea of Trees.
Ooh, what a deadening experience. Oh, I'm going to blow up the whole world and solve their problems. Yes.
Sea of Trees is approximately 13 square mile forest that lies at Mount Fuji's northwest base in Japan.
Why'd you hit me?
I didn't hit you. I looked at you.
Well, you gave me like an elbow nudge.
Yeah, because I want to read
What are you
You're
doing
distracting.
again? You
Yeah,
can't
I'm
stop
showing
when
you
you
what
get-
I did. That wasn't
What do you
hitting
got? Some sort of disease? You're flicking me? You're all like.
Flick. You want me to flick?
No, stop it! No,
You said flick me.
stop.
Okay, so if anybody heard anything I said,
Yeah, of course it is. The Sea of Trees is approximately 13 square miles of forest. It lies in Mount Fuji, northwest basin. Once again, Japan,
Japan. Okay.
where all of the mafia is.
The movie is based off the location, the forest.
Ooh, locals say there are only 3 types who pass through. There are hikers, there are the curious, and those who want to end their life.
Ooh. All right, so there are signs posted imploring visitors to think about it. The sign says, one of them, your life is a precious gift from your parents. Think about them and the rest of your family. You don't have to suffer alone.
Now, park rangers walk the trails, and they tell anyone they come across, go back.
Yeah. Go
Get
back. Yeah, go out. There's abandoned cars in the parking lot, shoes and discarded clothes in the walkways.
Shopping spree.
The items left behind range from suicide notes to abandoned campsites. And I've seen a documentary on this, and it is really creepy in there. But yeah, they made a movie called The Forest, but it was very loosely based because it really doesn't have a lot to do with it. So there is a shopping center close by, and employees know by what people buy that if they're going to the forest, so if they're buying, camp stuff and paper and a pen, they know that they're going to be headed to that forest. So they'll actually alert police when it happens.
Its creepy reputation aside, there is no place for a leisurely stroll. These trees are so dense in there that the sun or the wind don't break through in many of the parts. So this is a really dark forest.
Creepy. I'll put pictures up too. It's creepy. The trees twist and turn, and their roots wind across the ground in dangerous threads.
And because of its location at the base of the mountain, the ground is uneven, rocky, and pierced with hundreds of thousands of millions and billions of caves.
Or just hundreds of caves.
Oh.
Yeah, you can ad-lib a little.
Did you count them yourself?
I guess I could embellish. But they say what's more freaky than its complicated environment is the feeling of isolation people get when they're there.
Huh.
The trees are so tightly packed that there's no sun and wind, and it creates this eerie stillness.
And there's barely any wildlife in there.
Ooh, so now you can't even turn to the birds or a raccoon or nothing.
No, you can't turn to the raccoon.
If you're going to turn
Rocky the raccoon. Hey, yo, you think I should kill myself, raccoon?
I don't think that they're going to talk to the raccoons. But if you're lonely and scared enough, I would. I would. I'd talk to a raccoon if I was lost. Hey, you know the way out? You remember that scene from Elf when he bends down? Oh, do you want a hug? The raccoon attacks him, jumps out. Ah! That was great. That'd be me. I'm so Elf. Okay, so the Japanese police remove close to 100 bodies a year. And that's just what's been discovered. Because in 2000, authorities stopped looking for bodies in there. There's just too many people. The number one way of death is hanging. The second is poison, and the third is overdose. But I'm just wondering how they know that, though, because if they're not searching for these bodies, so this must be...
Well, the hanging's kind of a giveaway.
Well, yeah, but...
You're walking by, and there's, like, somebody dangling from a tree.
I guess, but you would think that they would remove it, because... Well, I guess they stopped searching for bodies, but that doesn't mean they haven't found them.
Yeah, I mean, they're not... If the woods is that dense, I mean, they're not going out of the way to look for it, but obviously they're walking through all the time. You said there's forest rangers keeping it up on the ones that are a little more on the obvious, but they probably digging through the woods and going out of their way to look every little trail to see what's down there, because, it's time-consuming, and, hey, they're going to end up in the dirt one way or another.
Oh, it's horrible. But think about all... what happens to the souls of those people that commit suicide? First of all,
they go in the dirt?
No, not the souls.
Yeah?
Souls don't go in the dirt.
In the dirt? They go, yeah.
But you wonder, I mean, if you have...
Someone's calling.
That's such a creepy song. Oh, I remember that. You think about all the people, what they were already feeling. They were sad, depressed. You wonder if maybe they carried those sad, depressive spirits... because there are demons of depression and demons of fear, demons of anger. And so when they die, what happens to those spirits when you commit suicide? Do they linger in that forest? Is the forest haunted?
You wonder if, you never know, because we, biblically speaking, we know that those that are in Christ rest in peace. So suicide is one of those unforgivable sins. So there you are kind of in a lost situation. And it could leave your spirit lost and still feeling much like you did that day and lost. So, yeah, it could draw more depression and stuff in the forest, causing people to be drawn to it. And now that it's become kind of a thing, now it's like, well, if you're going to kill yourself, this is what you do. This is where you go.
Is suicide an unforgivable sin? Is that in the Bible?
Yeah.
Is it? I want to find that because I always thought that was a Catholic belief. I know that our souls belong to God and we don't have the right to take our own life, but I don't know if that would be an unforgivable sin. But then again, if you know
There's no
Christ,
way of asking for forgiveness if you've killed yourself.
You can ask for forgiveness after because your soul lives forever.
It's a little late.
Well, but you're still...
You can't say, then you might as well just wait until you're before Christ on Judgment Day and say, oh, I'm sorry for everything I did. Now can I go to heaven?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Sure, why not? I forgot about it.
But God is really merciful. What if he saw what you went through?
He's the ultimate decider of all things. Yeah. So I can't go that far because I don't know. There could be reasons for everything. So.
See, because I always thought that was a Catholic thing because I was raised Catholic, so I thought that was like but I didn't know. So, thanks.
Well, in fact, survivors have said that the forest pulls people in one direction or the other, almost like voices.
Well, the first suicide in the forest is believed to have been that of a Buddhist monk. He wandered in to purify himself through starving to death. There's an idea.
Oh, that'll work.
Other monks followed, and this infamous death destination was born.
Purified, you're going to be hungry.
That's what you said about the voices pulling them in. Like I said before, what happens to the souls of the people or the unclean spirits? I don't know what happens. Are those the voices that are pulling people in? But
come to the pine tree.
There's come to the pine tree. That's funny. Meet me at the pine cone on the right. I got candy.
My long vine will fit around your neck. Climb and drop, climb and drop.
I'm by the bonsai tree.
Bonsai!
That sort of reminds me of the Greek myth of the sirens. They were beautiful but dangerous. They were creatures who lured nearby sailors with their enchanting voices and music to shipwreck on the rocky coast on the island. So maybe these are like forest sirens.
Could be.
You never know.
There's places in this world that are just odd.
Yeah. We don't have all the answers.
Thus, we're having our show this week.
In Japan, there's this custom called, I think it's pronounced yubasut, where the elderly relatives are taken away and left to die. This was practiced in the area, so some believe that their souls are now haunting the forest. So, there's a lot of different beliefs. They have so many different traditions and folklore in Japan, so everybody's got their own idea of
that should take care of Social Security.
Well, it's funny that you'd say that, because we're going to talk about that in a second.
Some also believe that the Tengu, it's a bird-like demon, haunts the area. Some also claim they've seen white, spectral beings glide between the trees. Others believe the ghost of those who committed suicide and struck there linger into the woods, tormenting visitors, and they're addicted to lure those that are said.
No one can understand what you're saying in that language.
I can. It's so much more fun than saying it like
Everybody's
everybody
like,
else.
what is he saying?
Oh, jeez. And so they're dedicated to alluring those that are sad and lost off the path to die.
Just pick a different voice that doesn't sound like it's a skipping record. Okay, so here's another odd thing.
People want to die. Oh, well.
Compasses, cell phones, GPSs don't work in there. Some believe this is proof of supernatural forces. Scientists say that the iron deposits in the area with the volcanic soil and stuff, they cause electronic malfunction.
Could be.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is for sure, if you're brave or stupid enough to go there, you'll find out. You'll see. Yeah. So, abandoned, personal belongings, human bones, remains dangling from branches.
That's what you're going to find
Is
in
that
there.
my cousin's arm?
That's what you're going to find in there.
Yeah.
That's
what
gross.
you're going to find, yeah.
So good luck. Good luck with that.
Maybe you'll find some good stuff. Well, like, let's say it was a rich guy that died. And
He's not going to bring his rich
Maybe
belongings.
he had some gold bracelets or something on.
Maybe. I never heard of that, though.
Could be.
Good. It could happen. Sure. Could happen.
Teeth glass. Maybe he's got some gold teeth. Yanked those babies out on the way through.
They used to be grave diggers because they would steal that stuff. Yeah. So you never know.
Just saying.
It reminds me of that island of the haunted dolls where all the dolls are hanging. It's like people go in there and take pictures and stuff because it's so creepy, but there's something so cool about the creepiness. But this forest, there's just something about it's like there's really cool pictures, which I'm going to put on our Facebook page, but I don't think I could go in there to take the pictures just because of what goes on in there. You just never know. You could be spiritually attacked in there.
Yeah.
A lot of death and sadness and stuff in there. I don't know. So there was this 1960 novel by a guy, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's like Saicho Matsumoto. It was about a pair of young lovers who take their lives in the forest. In 1993, Wataru Tsunami, his name. He wrote a guidebook for those looking to kill themselves, the complete suicide manual.
Perfect.
In it, he praised hanging as a work of art and called this forest the ideal place to die, saying that their body would be impossible to find and they'll become a missing person and slowly disappear from people's memories.
Wow.
Like, that's a good thing.
Now, that sounds odd to us and most normal people, but in many cases in Japan, it's considered an honorable way to escape the shame of failure. Probably why suicide is the leading cause of death for Japanese men between the ages of 20 and 44. Yeah, I know that they pride themselves so greatly in their accomplishments and their work and what they've done to the point of feeling that they've failed. And I know that culture is somewhat like that.
Yeah.
And I know we can all get ourselves to a place that we're just so depressed and feel miserable ourselves, but everybody needs to realize that it's in the failure that you have the growth.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, some of your most accomplished people there ever have been failures at one point in their life. Because that's the only way they learn from their mistakes to make something better. I mean, you know.
Well, unfortunately, though, this society is showing, at least in the U.S., that no one can lose a kickball game. Everybody's a winner.
You all get trophies. Everybody gets a trophy.
You know, and the problem with that is now you're not teaching kids failure. In failure, like you said, there's growth. There's
When I was a kid, when you took second place, that just means you were the first loser.
There is no second place. You're all first placers. Yeah. Okay, but what I was going to say about the Social Security thing was the elderly people, too. There's a high rise of number of suicides in the elderly because with their insurance and Social Security, if they, like in our insurances, life insurance, if someone commits suicide, you don't get life insurance. But in Japan, if someone commits suicide, life insurance is still given to the family members. So some people start getting up and, they're like, I'll just kill myself off.
I'm going to take Grandma for a walk. I'll be right back.
Or did they commit suicide?
Hey, Grandma, why don't you just hold on to this rope? Do you think that would fit around your neck, Grandma? I think it would.
That's so wrong.
Hey,
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
What is that the big rock doing falling off the cliff? Oh, Grandma, where did you go?
Oh, okay. Where's that insurance policy?
Time to go.
So this forest, known as Suicide Forest, is really the second leading suicide spot. So because of its creepiness and just the history of the myths and stuff, I think that's why it's gotten so much attention. But the Golden Gate Bridge is actually the first suicide. And I mean, Golden Gate Bridge is like awesome and everybody's on it every day. Approximately 1,600 bodies have been recovered from the Golden Gate Bridge. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But there's a couple of weird Golden Gate Bridge cases. Like 1945, there was this 37-year-old elevator installation foreman. His name was August Demont. He took his 5-year-old daughter to the bridge and he commanded her to jump. So she jumped. And then he jumped and he gracefully jumped after her like a bird. Just like it was something cool. And then the note was found in the car saying, I and my daughter have committed suicide. Well, his daughter didn't commit suicide. She was listening to her dad. That was so sad. On August 26, 1993, Roy Raymond, the founder of Victoria's Secret, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. So, but it's just weird because Roy founded Victoria's Secret. So would it be Roy's
so
secret?
Much going for him, man.
Roy had more than one secret, I'll tell you that.
Victoria's Secret's awesome. Well, here's a mysterious case for you. The Axeman of New Orleans. He was a serial killer in New Orleans and surrounding communities. So from May 1918 to 1919, a year.
Only 1 year he chopped people up.
Yeah, that's all it takes. One a day. He got his title because he usually killed his victims with an axe that belonged to the victims. Sometimes a razor, was used if they didn't have an axe.
Okay. Now everybody has an axe.
He smashed open the back door and attacked on one or more of the residents. The crimes were never robberies.
He just wanted to kill. He didn't want to steal.
Just a couple weird facts. The majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian American. The killer actually wrote a letter to the police stating that he would spare the lives of those who played jazz in their homes.
Okay, so I found this letter, and I want to read some of the excerpts from the letter. Okay, He dated it Hell, March 13th, 1919, and addressed it, Dear Esteemed Mortals. He said, and I edited this just a little bit just so that, and I didn't take anything out that's important, just so it's easier to read, but I didn't. It was a long letter, trust me. They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. So there's cooler hells, I guess. I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they, the police, have conducted their investigation in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. I don't even know what that means. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. So apparently this guy is not all there. He also said, I'm very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time. Okay.
A real jazz band or just the music of a jazz band?
Yeah, see, that's a little
Not
confusing.
everybody just has a jazz band in their living room.
It's about time I leave your earthly home. I will cease my discourse. I have been am and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fancy.
Well, he's got that going for him.
Doesn't he sound weird? He sounds like he thinks he's a demon. And
So he was never caught or identified, and his crime spree stopped as mysteriously as it started.
maybe it was a
Maybe.
spiritual thing. Maybe. But, here's the thing.
God.
We've said it before. When people go to this extreme and they start talking about demons and stuff, I believe that there are demons leading their thoughts, whispering in their ear. I mean,
sure. To go to this kind of extreme, I don't know where the jazz comes in, but
because there's bad and then there's evil.
yeah, right. There's bad, and then exactly.
You can't
There's
have a bad-
levels of bad.
Yeah.
I mean, murder is one thing, but then you say, well, look how someone murdered somebody. That
Right.
takes evil to think and go to that extent.
Right.
I mean, it's still wrong. It's still evil, or bad. But when you start doing some of the, the chopping and the cutting and the dicing and all the stuff,
It slices, it dices.
It's like, what are you doing?
Oh, and then, you get in his mind a little bit with this note. That's why I put some of this stuff, because it was like, okay, that's just weird.
Illness.
Okay. So when you've got mental illness, and you've got that spiritual affliction, a lot of, it's been an ongoing argument, because you've got doctors who say they're mentally ill. And I've always said that mental illness is a refraction from a spiritual affliction. Yes. So mental illness isn't the spiritual issue. The spiritual issue causes a mental illness. Because no one can be sane when you've got demons screaming in your ear.
Sane. Feel the pain of
Like,
insane.
here's the case of Ricky
In the
McCormick.
membrane.
So
What?
I'm wondering, is this a mental
Insane.
illness or is this
In the
spiritual
membrane.
affliction?
What? Insane.
So then Scott's done with his
All right, go ahead.
recording. So here's Ricky McCormick's background. He was a high school dropout. He was very illiterate. He was single, but he did have 4 kids. He had
He found something he was good at.
he had a criminal record. He had multiple addresses in the Missouri-Illinois region. He was unemployed. He suffered from chronic heart and lung problems. And at 41, he was found dead in a cornfield in Missouri. But this is where the story gets sort of weird. He was only missing 72 hours, but when they found his body, it was severely already decomposed, which they said that doesn't add up.
Right.
So, but they said, yeah, he was dead 72 hours, but because they had seen him 72 hours prior.
Right.
So they don't understand. 12 years later, so they don't know, they don't know how he died or nothing, but 12 years later it comes out by the police that he was murdered. They didn't even inform the family of this. It was on the family found out from the media. Because in his pockets, and why they waited 12 years, no one knows. In his pockets were 2 they weren't legible, documents not even experts in the FBI can decipher. It's a jumble of letters and numbers occasionally set off with parentheses. And he was illiterate, so he couldn't write. The family members said that he never wrote in code or anything like that at all. And the fact that he was 15 miles from his home with no car, they want to know how he got there. I mean, obviously he must have walked, or I don't know, someone dropped him off. And this whole case is currently listed as one of the cryptanalysis unit's top unsolved cases because no one can decipher what these letters are. The FBI actually started a website, put the letters on there, and asked people's help.
To see if somebody could just figure it out.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
they don't
what
know
do you
what
make
this
of
guy
it?
was trying to say. And they must know more because they're saying that he was murdered. So how do they know he was murdered? They know somehow.
A lot of weird things here.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so what about Robert Leroy Johnson's story?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Now, he was an American blues singer, songwriter, and musician.
We were just talking about him the other night.
Yeah, we were. And according to the legend, as a young man living on the plantation in rural Mississippi, Robert Johnson had a strong desire to become a great blues musician. Now, the lore says he was instructed to take his guitar to the crossroad at midnight.
You know, Karate Kid was in that movie, Crossroads, but I don't think it was about that. But Ralph Macchio, he was in a blues movie called Crossroads. I never saw it, but I don't know if it was about this story or not.
Well, you read
Because
it.
he's
Karen.
white. I'm not! He was in the movie called Crossroads, and this is what this is about.
Okay, stay focused when
Sorry.
we do the podcast.
I wanted to talk about Karate Kid. Go ahead.
Okay?
Okay.
I mean, this is serious stuff here.
Really? Okay.
You know, you see me trying to stay focused on what's going on.
Trying is the key word.
I'm succeeding
Oh.
greatly.
Oh, yes. All right.
Anyways.
Do you know Thor has a gym in his garage? He's selling his house for only $6 million.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You would know.
I do know
all
that.
about Thor.
He's married. It's okay.
My wife has a thing for Thor.
I forgot his name. Chris Hemsworth. But the fact that he's only selling it for $6 million, and he took this like 3 or 4 car garage and turned it into this huge gym, and everybody's like, wow, it's sort of cool because you'd think that he would go to a gym or whatever, but he just hung out at home with his chick, you know. But now he's moving.
Well, he's got to haul that big hammer around. So.
Oh yeah, he needs to buff up. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So, anything else?
No,
or
I'm good.
Are we good? All updated on Thor and
Yes.
all his activities and his $6 million house. And
Yeah.
happen to know all about Thor's gym.
I did. Yeah, I just saw it today. Not the gym.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I have to find out what Megan Fox is doing next.
You already
So
know.
there he was met by a large black man, actually the devil, who took the guitar and tuned it. Ooh. Now the devil played a few songs and then returned the guitar to Johnson, giving him mastery of the instrument. In exchange for his soul, Robert Johnson was able to create the blues for which he became famous.
Ooh.
Which didn't you?
Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yeah, we talked. That song is based on that story.
Yeah. Yeah,
For those,
that's a very famous story within musicians because they
Devil
said
Went
he was
Down to Georgia
amazing.
looking for a soul
That's a
to
cool
steal.
tune too. I like that. But the legend developed over time, and you know the true accounts got lost, and so it's a myth. But if you look at the facts, I mean, sort of fits the myth. A close friend of Johnson, his name was Son House, once told the story as an explanation of Johnson's amazingly rapid mastery of the guitar. He became famous and then mysteriously died 2 years later. But not before he wrote lyrics about selling his soul to the devil at the crossroads and a hellhound on his trail.
He married 16-year-old Virginia Travis in 1929, but she died in childbirth shortly after. Surviving relatives of Virginia claimed this was a divine punishment for Robert's decision to sing songs that were about the devil. Many feel his ties to the occult, shamanism, and voodoo were tied into his dark, short life.
Well, we do know that darkness finds darkness, so you never know.
Yeah.
Johnson also married Coletta Kraft in 1931. Coletta also died in childbirth, just like his other wife. But Johnson used different names in different places. He used at least 8 distinct surnames. And he was just a really aloof kind of guy. People that knew him said he was really, really nice, but there was just something different about him. And I'm like, maybe he suffered from like...
Maybe it was the black eyes.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe when he played his guitar, that blood came from his fingertips and smoke rose.
Fire rose from the
frets.
fingertips and rosined up his bow. A fellow blues musician told this story. And I edited it just for clarity, but he said, Robert was a very friendly person, even though he was sulky at times. And I hung around Robert for quite a while. One evening, he disappeared. He was kind of a peculiar fellow. Robert be standing up playing someplace, playing like nobody's business. But Robert just picked up and walked off and left you standing there playing. And you wouldn't see Robert for no more, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks.
That is weird.
Yeah.
And his death was also mysterious. He died in 1938 at the age of 27 from unknown causes. He was reported to have begun feeling ill one evening and had to be helped back to his room.
Okay, that doesn't seem weird, but...
And over the next 3 days, his condition steadily worsened. Now, witnesses reported that he died in a convulsive state of severe pain. Oh. Some speculate that he seduced the wife of the beer hall owner, who in revenge laced his whiskey with arsenic. So
yeah,
they think maybe he was poisoned.
But then there are like 2 or 3 autopsy guys that said it couldn't have been arsenic because for the amount that would have caused him for whatever, he would have tasted that or something. So they don't think it was that, and they didn't have the stuff that we do now, but they don't think it was that based off their. So no one really knows. And okay, so this is where I think is interesting because we're talking about the devil and all this stuff, and you know how the devil's number is 3, right? 3s. Well, it took 3 days for his condition to worsen before he died, and the exact location of his grave is officially unknown, but there are 3 different markers at the cemetery sites with his name. So no one knows which one he's really in, and no one's going to...
Dig him up!
Yeah, but I'm like, 3 different markers, 3 days, there's that number 3. You never know. So... What's weird is the fact that all accounts of those who knew him said he wasn't that great of a blues player, but he disappears for a time, and then suddenly he comes back playing like nobody's business, like that guy said. And then he writes songs about the devil. The one song that he's famous for, Me and the Devil Blues, he says, when you knocked upon my door and I said, hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go, was walking side by side, me and the devil. Whoa. I'm going to beat my woman till I get satisfied. Sounds like a nice guy. You may bury my body down by the highway side so my old evil spirit can get a Greyhound bus and ride. And then the hellhound on my trail talks about blues falling down like hail, hellhound on my trail. And then he wrote another song, If I Had Possession Over Judgment Day. That was So, I mean, you look at some of these songs, something was obviously plaguing him. Being a writer, I know that you write what you're feeling, what's on your mind.
A bit of a negative influence.
Yeah, I think that there's something going on. Eric Clapton, who we know was sort of involved with some occult stuff, he said that the most powerful cry that I think you can find is in the human voice. He's talking about this guy. In 2 takes of Me and the Devil Blues, Johnson shows a high degree of precision in the complex vocal delivery of the last verse. The range of tone he can pack into a few lines is astonishing. So he's noticing that there's something.
There's just
something.
It's like, wow, how'd you do that type thing?
Bob Dylan said.
Yeah, Bob Dylan. When Johnson started singing, he seemed like the guy who could have sprung up from the head of Zeus in full armor, And I immediately differentiated between him and everyone else, and I had even heard the songs were customary blues songs.
That's pretty good. You sound like Bob Dylan. Yeah, so even he said didn't sound like the normal blues songs. And then to compare him to Zeus in full armor, sort of weird. Don't you think?
Yeah.
All right, so we're also going to debunk a mystery. Okay. Now, I thought this whole thing was over with, but it is still circulating around the internet. So this is why I put this in here. So I'm going to pull a Scully. Sorry.
The hole to hell. It's allegedly a hole in Siberia, Russia, and some accounts say even Alaska.
Okay.
Which that was supposedly drilled so deep that it broke through into hell.
Which is stupid because hell is spiritual, not physical. So
have you been to the center of the earth?
No, but if it's a spiritual thing, you can't drill to it. Use a Ouija board, duh.
Yeah. Now, although the recordings are creepy, his story is not true.
Oh, I knew it.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
The story
as long as a telephone wire.
The story and recording have been circulating around the internet since the 90s. I see it all the time. I've heard it. It's creepy.
It is creepy.
But, so here's the legend. The legend states that a team of Russian engineers in an unnamed place in Siberia.
The Russians would never lie to you. They always tell you the truth.
But there is another account that it's in Alaska, too, so it just depends on where you get the story.
Very close to the border. It's fine. It's good.
Russia, Alaska. That they drilled this hole that was 9 miles deep before breaking through a cavity.
It's a big hole.
Intrigued, this unexpected discovery, they lowered, by coincidence, an extremely heat-tolerant microphone along with other sensory equipment into the wall.
Why?
And then they captured, I got an idea. Let's see what's down there. So they captured screams and wails like tormented cries of the damned. However, the recording was later found to be looped together from a various sound effects thing. A lot of parts came from the soundtrack of a 1972 movie, Barren Blood. So if you guys see this, it's everywhere. It's not true.
But let me tell you about a true story in my Soviet Union.
Well, this is the true story behind it.
Drilling a hole for more than 7.5 miles deep on the Kola Peninsula. But somehow a warped version made its way to the American Christian Trinity Broadcasting Network, TBN, which broadcast it on the network, claiming it to be proof of literal existence of hell.
Well, and the TBN is
it does
supposed
proof.
to be Christian.
It happened. 7.5 mile deep hole in Kola Peninsula. They find hell.
Isn't that stupid? Because it's supposed to be Christian Broadcasting Network. It's Trinity Broadcasting. They're supposed to be Christian.
You don't have to go to hell. Just stay out of the hole.
And they're saying that, we found hell. That is the dumbest thing. So that makes Christians look bad.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't be doing that. I can't believe they did that. So, of course, it went around the Christian.
Well, there's a lot of Christianity. I mean, we've been around this block a lot of times with the variances of Christianity and what people seem to make permissible and unpermissible and what's okay. I got an idea. Why don't you just read the book? We call it the Bible. Take what it says literally. Do what it says literally. All of it, as the Bible says, every tittle, all of it, and then you're probably doing all right. But when you start skipping around and you're picking and choosing, you're going to have some problems.
And you read this, but you didn't read this.
Then you form this religion and that religion. Well, I believe in the second book, but not the fourth book. I believe in the fourth book, but not the third verse of the fourth book.
I believe in the book that's not even part of it, but it was found.
And I believe in this part and part of Revelations, but I think that means something back here. Why not just
take it for what it is? Yeah.
It actually is somewhat simple.
Yeah.
A lot of it, actually, the Bible can be very simple. When somebody who knows the Word of God teaches it to you, you might go, wow, blood, water, sacrifice, I get it.
Well, if someone were to take my book and read just a part of it, they would get a whole different concept of what the book's about. Or if they take, this part and that part and say, oh, I know what the rest of the book, they're missing everything in between, how it ends. Yep. And you can even read the ending, but you're missing out on how you got there. Well, you can't appreciate it.
The whole religion of Jehovah's Witnesses is based on picking and choosing certain things, and to read that solely, only, just that, and not get the entire thing. See, this is what it doesn't. You can read
everything.
All of it.
You have to read.
Got to also know the background of it. Some will say, well, you don't have to be baptized. See, these people weren't baptized here, but I'm like, well, wait a minute. Go back and find out who these people were. You'll find out they were already baptized. Yeah. So, I mean, so you don't need the Holy Ghost. They already had it. So a lot of different
it
things
gets
like
lost.
That. Yeah, it gets lost. So,
well,
I don't know.
Okay, well.
Confusion.
I guess that is a wrap. I guess it's time for, you know what?
It's a wrap.
Right about now, you're about to be possessed.
Have the
Okay, Scott, you want to do... Oh, no, let me do what
rocks.
Yeah,
you're going to do what rocks.
Because the reject is good. Well, they're both good, but... Okay, so a man in Oslo, Norway finds $38,000 and gave it all to charity. Can you believe that? I don't know if I could do that. I think that's awesome. He's 27 years old. His name is Vimand Thor... Oh, gosh, okay. Thor Kildenson.
Kildenson.
He found the money hidden underneath the fireplace of his new apartment.
That's where I keep it.
Yeah, he was checking to see if he could move the fireplace area, and under one of the top stone slabs were 4 envelopes stuffed with $38,000, because that's normal. He said, here's what's interesting, too, is he was, at first, he was going to move this fireplace, and then he's like, no, and he waited like a couple days, and he said he kept thinking about it. It just was on his mind. I'm like, maybe that was God telling you, because he knew what you'd find, because he knew what you'd do with the money, because he was just going to leave it. He's like, no, I'm just going to see if I can move it. So I thought that was neat. So he said, to begin with, I broke out into a cold sweat. After that, we hopped around screaming. I thought this was only something that happened in bad American movies. Since the elderly couple that lived in the apartment before him donated their estates to a cancer foundation, he decided to keep their generosity going and do the same thing. He said, although it would have been nice to go on vacation, it felt nice to give it to something good like the Cancer Foundation. Isn't that sweet? I was like, oh, you don't hear too many stories like that. So I say that Vemin rocks, and so does the fact that there's still honest, selfless, and generous people out there. Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, you can do the recheck.
I will do the recheck.
Which is so good.
The fact that this is week 2, the protesters tried to perform an exorcism on Senator Ted Cruz at the New Hampshire rally. This is real. So, 2 men interrupted the Cruz's rally with a cross and a mirror. Now, they shouted out. They said this. They said, Ted Cruz, look into the mirror and let the evil spirit depart. The other hollered out. He said, he's possessed by a demon. They also said, he's possessed by a demon. The demon has to leave. That's why the body is so disgusting to look at.
Didn't you say you hated Ted Cruz's nose? Someone else must hate it too.
So people began booing. So what's with the mirror? One of the men said, so the evil can confront itself. The evil body, the evil spirit. Look at yourself in the mirror.
Isn't that terrible? We'll put that up on Facebook. I'll put the link to that whole video.
So,
gosh.
Now you'll see one of the men holding up a mirror in his left hand and yelling at Ted Cruz, "Look into the mirror!" And then Ted Cruz looked freaked out at first. Then he made a joke and he says, "Usually lefties don't believe in God." Said, I don't know if those guys was a liberal, conservative, or a lover of...
Over a fighter.
But, what was he thinking?
Yeah. It's ugly. Confront yourself, demon.
Everybody knows that Trump is... but everyone knows that Trump is one of the demons.
That's what they think, the GOP.
Yeah, the GOP. So, but for real, you cannot expel...
Demons with the cross and mirror.
Cross and mirror. The mirror don't... And the cross doesn't do anything either. I mean, we watch a lot of mumbo jumbo with TV and shows and like this. And, it's like, the cross is an item.
You can't.
The faith and the power comes through the Holy Spirit, which must be inside of you.
You can't do it in that kind of environment angrily and it's disgusting to look at, or whatever he said.
Though it was humorous.
Oh, it was. And the video is really funny.
I imagine both God and Satan had a chuckle about the whole thing. Like, really?
The devil probably said to God, "You made him." It's like, oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. So, I don't know. I thought that's a good reject. So next week, we're going to be discussing the aspects of spiritual and physical.
The aspects of spiritual and physical, and the spiritual warfare. How it afflicts us mentally, emotionally, and physically, as well as ancestrally.
Yeah, that made it sound so real and so good.
It's going to be a very, very deep spiritual subject that should enclose our minds and wrap our souls around that growth in which we can find within our inner being of
I might have to do it myself, I think.
And often enough what we can experience inside of the inner plateau of our being is the expectation of our love for man and mankind.
You're going to have all these spiritualists going, yeah, he's right.
I don't have any idea what I just said.
That was good, though.
I have not a clue.
Oh, well.
Oh, man. So anyway, until next Friday, don't fear, forget, or hide. Just listen, accept, and rise.
Hey, this is Heidi from Talk Supernatural. You know I like to talk, so let's keep the confab hot. Follow us on Twitter at TSR Parapod. And check out our Facebook page, Talk Supernatural Podcast. We air for you, so hit us back. We'd love to hear what you think of the show, too, so email us, talksupernatural@gmail.com, and we'll give you a shout-out on air.
Check out more from Talk Supernatural Radio. Head over to tsradio.net. You can listen to TSR on iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, and YouTube. If you have any questions or would like to know more on spiritual afflictions, hauntings, demonic influence, check out Scott and Heidi's SWAT resource site at EP46SWAT.com.
This world's a tortured place to be. So many things to torment me. And as I stumble down this road, it takes a toll. I need an intervention. But I can see it coming. Some things just can't be explained.
And that's all, folks.